No, not at all.
Last one up.
So I think maybe before we start, I've got a few questions to kickstart things, but maybe before we start, do you want to present yourself briefly? So who you are, which country, and your role, but briefly. So Germain, do you want to start?
Hi, Germain Tesniere from IDELE, the French Livestock Institute in France. I was working in Take Care in Work Package 5 with large scale and pilot trials.
Hi, I'm Cathy Dwyer from SRUC in Scotland in the UK, and I worked mostly in Work Package 2, which focused on animal welfare.
My name is Pol Llonch. I work at Autonomous University of Barcelona in Spain, and my role here with Take Care has been as an advisor because we were on the Clear Farm project, as you saw this morning.
Hello everybody, my name is Michail Kakanis. I'm a veterinarian working as a national facilitator in the project of Take Care in the Greek team.
And I'm Ester ALAEZ-PONS. I work in the European Commission in the unit of animal welfare. I'm a vet too, and I deal with mainly with the files of ruminants, slaughter and killing, and also with the Urco ruminants and a little bit with the research.
Thank you. So I thought, before I give you the floor, if you've got any question, I think something that came amongst all the discussion we've had today is around the welfare data and the alerts. So I think one first question I had for you is, what do you think as a challenge to get these alerts from welfare data, and how can you look at threshold? So I don't know if you want to, someone wants to start answering that one?
Okay,
Cathy, we discussed it at coffee.
I'm very receptive to those social pressures. You know, there's a gap, I have to fill it. So I'm not sure I'll fill it with anything useful, but I will give it a go. I mean, it clearly is an issue because we know from the work that's been done with the stakeholders that they don't want loads and loads of alerts. They want alerts that are meaningful, because otherwise people won't respond to those alerts. I think it's having something that fits into a point when they want to go and respond. I think the difficulty that we've probably found so far with, if we think about this from a welfare perspective, we would often say that there is no acceptable threshold. So if the animal has something wrong with it, then it needs to be treated. And the difficulty with the PLF is determining at what point are we confident, so we're thinking about maybe the sensitivity of the measure and the specificity of the measure, and those things often don't match up very well. So if we have something that's very specific, it may be quite insensitive, or if we have something that is very sensitive, then we're getting lots and lots of alerts, and they're not necessarily very valuable. So I think, I'm not sure with Take Care we were at the point where we could really grapple with that quite so much. So I was wondering whether maybe Clear Farm had thought about this a bit, because you're a bit further down the line with implementing these?
Well, I think in this point, integration of different indicators can improve sensibility or specificity of the assessment or the potential of a good assessment. So I think more and more we have been, or in the past we have relied on single or very few indicators to determine welfare problems, whereas now I think we have more data available, and the integration of different indicators is what makes really powerful. I agree, one of the main challenges is perhaps to establish thresholds, and I think this is an area of research that would need much attention in the near future.
And if I may add something, I think it's very early because it's innovative. PLF is very new. So to put in front of the research the PLF thresholds, it's very early to put the thresholds. We don't know the thresholds. We have to have more data, even if we have data, but more data, more practical implementation of all these PLF tools, and when we have all the data aggregated, then we are going to be more specific about the threshold. It is not our fault that we don't have the threshold to give it to the farmers. They ask for a threshold, but it's not so easy to find the threshold. That is a solution that fits everything.
Esther or Germain, do you want to add to that?
I could add something from the pilot. I agree with you, Michael. But if we try to be also positive with the results and happy, we had some great achievement. I think about the example of the THI Gerardo and his team has done in UAB. We are happy to show specific threshold for specific ruminant THIs. This is something really new, was a gap in the literature, so we have something really positive to offer to the small ruminant team, let's say that. And I'm also thinking about the huge data set we are collecting with the Spanish, Greek, French, and Romania milking order and milking yield. That will be also very useful to find how we can define an alert if there is decrease in milk production. With this huge data set, we can refer to new references about what is a problematic decrease in milk production for a goat or for a ewe.
Yeah, I think what the colleagues have said is true, that the thresholds is really something that is difficult to establish, but it depends probably of the kind of indicators you are measuring. Some of them, maybe there are also already some, even in the legislation, some things that are established. And, but also maybe there are differences between the geographical areas. There are many factors that can influence also the thresholds, which add complexity to the problem of establishing them.
Claire?
Okay.
Claire?
Yeah.
There is some comments,
Okay.
questions. One is from two. It's from Jan.
Can you put your microphone next to you?
Yes,
Sorry.
Jan Ledoux, sorry. The first one regards the consumer survey, and is, when doing consumer survey, what level of welfare improvement would the consumer expect in order to pay more? This is the first question or comment. The second one is, surely not one threshold suits all. May to some extent be farm or farmer specific.
Yeah, so maybe if we can discuss that second question before we go on to the consumer survey to Soteris. So what do you think? Is it possible to make the threshold more specific, or is that one solution? That's what Jan is asking.
If I may, I think it does. It makes total sense. And I wouldn't say it's possible. I think it's necessary. Because so I think with the quantity and quality of data we have, it makes no sense to put like a borderline to say above or under this is good or is bad. I think it has to be dependent on the farm context or even in the individual context. I think it can be even individual specific. So for us, for researchers and animal welfare scientists who used to work on average data, focus on average, I think we have now to make a switch on our minds and adapt also our way of addressing this data analysis in this different way.
Cathy, yeah.
And Ilan Lakmi commented just a bit,
Yeah.
threshold is individual per individual animal, preferably one single factor.
Yeah.
I was just going to, I guess, add an addendum to what Pol has said, which I agree with completely. I think our PLF tools are not a substitute for the farmer. They're an addition to the farmer. And so they have to be, farmers have to have the flexibility to make their own decisions in the same way that they would without that data. So they can't be seen as a replacement for the farmer's decision-making. They are complementary and supportive. So it will have to be flexible for each different farmer to work with, otherwise I think it will not be very popular as a tool, because it has to work with different farmers' desires, needs, priorities across and how they manage their own farm.
Michael, yeah.
Also, we have to think that in the European context, we have a very great diversification of production systems and of the breeds that they are using. So we are going to have thresholds for different breeds. So I totally agree with you that we have to go, it is a necessity to go to a farm solution, a tailored farm solution.
Fiona, yes.
I was just wondering, do you think a sliding scale would work for the thresholds? So you could have, depending on how cautious a farmer wanted to be, so you could have an alert saying, this animal's probably all right, don't need to worry about it. In the middle, maybe you need to go and check on it, potential that you need to do something. And then a higher one saying, actually, we really think you need to go and see this animal right now and make a decision what to do.
Traffic light.
Why not?
Yeah. If I may, we have to admit that we have to be at the base of the legislation at the start. This is the start, this is the minimum. And then we are going to best implementation. We have to find these motivated farmers that they are going for the next step. And this next step has to be paid. And this is why it is important also to see if the consumers are willing to pay and they are going to pay.
Anyone else wants to comment on Fiona's question? Germain?
Yeah, not an answer, but comment. Yes, would be great to have this different level of threshold and also alerts. And I think we have great example also. The THI is an alert for the flock, for all the situation in the shed. And we have some specific data that could be, as Ilan was mentioning, specific to individual, because if we also record many data about past event for each individual, we are more or less capable to say that, okay, regarding the previous data of this animal, this is a strange behavior or strange evolution, and that also think what can be very useful for the farmers as a specific indicator. Yeah.
Esther, do you want to come in? Yeah.
Yeah, no, just to agree with my colleague that, of course, the legislation establishes the minimum level, and also it's important that is the base to have a level playing field. So then, above that, the people decide if they want to be above, and then how to monetize this. This is a different thing.
Paul, you had a question, I think, yeah.
It's just an observation. Rather than getting hung up on looking at thresholds, aren't we really looking at something which is triggering change? And so where you get any change in the results that you're getting back, it should give you an early warning, and that's really what we're looking for, is the early warning, not so much getting hung up on a threshold value, but something that signifies a change that you need to be aware of.
Yeah. Do you want to comment on that? Do you agree?
Yeah, but I think both are somehow related. So you need a threshold to establish an early warning. So upon which point do you think farmer or any decision maker should take an action? Again, not sure whether this is a definite threshold or can be something aggregated with other indicators. Maybe that is the point. But I guess they are both related, early warnings and thresholds.
I suppose if we take the example of the sheep weight, every sheep is different, so it's not that, oh, it's gained or lost 3 kilos. It would be that it's changed a lot since last time it was weighed. And then that's a lot. Mm-hmm. That is probably flexible according to the systems.
But the threshold is how much is a lot.
Yes.
So they're intimately related, really. I think.
Yeah.
I guess what we're sort of looking at is at what point do we say this is something that matters, and what point is it within the normal variation for this animal? And I think the integration of different indicators gives us that clearer picture, because weight will go up and down. The animal's just eaten, so it's full, and then the next time we weigh it, it's stopped, so it's low, and you don't want to be getting alert every time that happens. But if you have that within a package of other indicators that suggests all of them are going in the wrong direction. But I think it will still come down, the system that I could imagine working best, which may be impossible to design, but is something that is flexible enough that we know that farmers respond differently to some of the work that we did within the Tech Care project, asking some of the social science, asking farmers about their experience with it. And some farmers wanted to know everything. They wanted to interrogate all the data. They wanted all the information, and then they used that themselves. And others probably do want an alert that just says, this is the point where you need to go. The animals are being eaten by a lynx, or something has happened to the animal. Now you need to go and do something. And I think we need to be able to accommodate that variation in what people want from a system.
Germain?
Sorry. Ilan commented, indeed, a change from a normal behavior.
Yeah, that's...
That's what I was thinking also about behavior, because if I refer also to some results from the pilots, I can show that in your experiment in Scotland with the feed blocks, there was some ewes who did never go to the melasse block. So that was not related to welfare, just related to they didn't want to eat melasse at this time. So in one way it could be an alert, but in another way it's just normal behavior of individuals. So we should consider this also as a potential, information useful, but sometimes we maybe go step by step and say, okay, at the beginning we will have wrong alarms, but if we only have 3 animals to check, even if it's in a barn of 1,000, it's also useful to have 3 bad alarms, but maybe useful indications.
Yeah, I have no solution, but because it's true that the threshold could be, for example, a variation of percentage, but again, it depends of the period of the year, it depends of the many things, but maybe it's possible, now that the artificial intelligence is coming, to establish a pattern for an animal, and that if you are in the pattern, it's more or less normal for the animal, and then if the animal go outside of the pattern, then there's an alert. This may be something that could be explored. I don't know.
I think what PLF is trying to do is to find these thresholds, aggregated indicators, not only one, based ideally on animal-based, and then find the parameters for every indicator. As Esther said, it is we lose weight, but it is summer, so this is something that we are expecting. So this is, at this period of the time, is not so important. So 0.2 weight at this parameter. And when you have all this aggregated with the parameters, then you have the early warning system, the info that really needs the farmer, because the farmer doesn't need data, doesn't need the spreadsheets. He needs warnings, information. You have to do something.
Just if I can add. Because here we are speaking about individuals, so of course the variability is probably higher. If you speak about groups, those individual variability neutralized on you is probably easier to find. I don't say it's easy, but it's easier to find that threshold for a group, for a herd, etc., than for individuals, because things became less.
Claire?
Yeah.
Jan Ledoux commented that understanding normal behavior is the definition of stockmanship.
Yeah.
And Ilan commented, the point is not only to understand the behavior, but to quantify the behavior in such accuracy to recognize a change.
So that's going back to what we were saying. I don't know if you want to comment on these 2 points. Or you agree?
Yes, understanding behavior is part of normal stockmanship. I think, again, go back, I guess my previous comment was none of these tools are replacing stock people. They are supporting stock people in their decisions. So unless you are with the flock all the time, if you've got a very large flock, you see the change in the whole flock, but you don't always see the change early in an individual in that flock. So you might know when there's clinical disease present. But I guess for an early warning system, we are asking whether the integration of the technology allows us to detect something before we would otherwise have seen. I guess that's the definition of the early warning, is that the technology has noticed something before we would have seen that ourselves in the behavior of the animal. And it's having the technology as a support for stockmanship, not a replacement.
Actually, he answered. I only do. Sorry.
Have a conversation.
A conversation. That for PLF to be really useful, it needs to intervene before behavior changes enough.
Yeah.
And Ilan agree.
Okay.
We all agree.
Good. Any other question on that topic? I think the other point that came when we were chatting with colleagues on coffee is how do you, it's around the farmer engagement and how much evidence do they need to be engaged in these PLF tools and welfare assessment, and how can you motivate them? So I don't know if you want to come on that.
Okay. Can I go? Just to explain an anecdote that we had during ClearFarm trials. We were looking for farms to engage, and we found some. We're talking about the selection bias, which normally in experimental projects or research projects, normally you get the good farmers where nothing happens because the management is really good. The stockmanship is high quality, but you would like, more events, even disease, so then you can validate your stuff. Anyway, on that farmer, we approached him to use, in that case was a sensor assessing sound analysis in pigs, which can be used to assess, among others, respiratory health based on coughing. The farmers, the first time we went to the farm and explained him what the trial would be, what that sensor can do, he was like, I don't think I need this because I'm a good farmer. He knew already he was a good farmer. Actually, he was an excellent farmer. But anyway, because we paid for the technology, so he was like, okay, just put this, and I don't care much. And after a year of the trials, we finished, and we decided to remove the sensor because the trial was finished. So we went to a farm and asked, well, now it's time to go. Thanks for allowing us to put the sensor here. And then he said, well, maybe if you could leave it here, because I think it was, after all, it was useful. He realized that even being a good farmer, he cannot be 24 hours at the farm. And he realized that he was missing some coughing events and some respiratory disease outbreaks that started during the night, for instance, where, by the way, is when pigs start coughing most. So even farmers, they are not aware of it. I think we have to persuade them on using, checking, trying, because sometimes, not always, but sometimes, I think they can be useful.
Do you want to comment on that, maybe, Michael?
Yes, I totally agree. We all agree together that farmers, they want the results, because before you went there as a researchers, thousands of people went there and they tried to sell things, medicines, PLF tools, whatever, just to make money for them. At least this is what the farmers are thinking, so another one. So you have to give them results. To see the results, as you said, although he was a good one, after he saw the results and that PLF tools are working 24/7, that no man can, until now at least. So I totally agree that we have to have trial farms, something like that, in order for people to be engaged and motivated more.
Yeah.
Did you leave the sensor? Did you leave the sensor, or did the farmer buy the sensor?
We left there. We left there until Clear Farm ended, but after all, the funding ended, so we couldn't.
Okay, he didn't buy the sensor then.
I'm not sure, actually.
Because
I'm not sure because
the
that was.
awareness should pull the farmer to bring to buy this important sensor. If he become aware of the usefulness or not.
He became aware of the usefulness of the sensor. However, that farm was part of a large company of pig farms in Spain, and I think the decision on whether to buy it or not was on a upper level. So I think they. I know that they were in conversations with the technology providers, at least.
Cathy, oh, Michael in the back, yes. No, just a microphone, yeah.
Just the last thing you said was very important, because sheep farms are usually smaller and run by individual or family. What about bigger farm where the decision making is more complex? Did it appear in the consortium analysis, or it's all mostly one farmer or family farm with up to 500 sheep, and this is the average that we work with in Europe, or more complex scenarios?
So I'm not sure I captured all the question, but I think the business model have to be adapted to the kind of farm. So for instance, if it's a large intensive farm that belongs to a larger company, I think the business model can be there more on. Excuse me? From the surveys, from the analysis. Yes, from the company to increase the level of knowledge and understanding of what's going on at the farms. So a higher analysis capacity. Whereas for small farms, I see that the use of data can be different. So a more adapted and more assisting their decisions, and eventually that they can use this data for other purposes, such as labeling or sell it to other companies. Who knows?
I guess there's a whole field of human behavior change science. So I think when we start to look at why do people do what they do, it gets very complex very quickly. And I think we can all, every person makes a different choice, has a different motivation, has a different reason for doing what they do. So I think that there's often some sort of broad motivations. I think the point of, does it work? And if it doesn't work, that very quickly turns people off across the piece. So I think there's some really broad categories of, and does it do what you've been told it will do, or your understanding of what it will do? So I think a lot of people will get turned off very quickly. I think what motivates people to go down this route is vast. I think every person will probably have a different rationale for doing this. So I think it's quite hard to, without maybe doing some additional work to understand really what motivates people. I guess with the larger farmers, you may have more money, or you can see more return on your investment than a smaller farmer. But I think some of the work that I think Claire and I did a long time ago on that USE project showed that if you didn't have a successor to your farm, so someone who was going to take it on in your family, then you were less willing to invest, which sort of makes sense. So I think that there is lots of complicated factors around farm structure, about whether it's staying in the family, whether you have a large corporate that maybe someone is making decisions and telling you what to do. So I think there's some commonalities, but I think there's also, small ruminant farming is so diverse, you probably go to every single farm will have a different reason why they may or may not choose to do something.
Okay, any other? So you want to
Yeah,
go
just
for it?
comment also, we didn't spoke a lot about money, but farmers are interested in saving time, money, and also give them with the data an interesting support to take a good decision. So that should be also interesting to have a cost-benefit analysis for some of the tech we were also using in the large-scale phases. So we're trying to do to start this also with, for example, the milk tank, not the milk tank, but the individual milk meters in France. And we also had some interesting feedbacks from the farmers regarding one main problem. It was on the top 3 of the main problems from a survey in France, and I think it's also mentioned in some national report from the workshops. They are happy using technologies. They are happy if the data is good and they can rely on it to pay. But something that is a big problem for them is about interoperability between systems and technology. They always have to pay for different subscription plus the material, and the technologies are not sometimes able to communicate because it's different manufacturers or maybe different IT systems. So this is not a topic they have to deal with. They should be able to use the systems, but they are really waiting for more standards and also more regulation regarding interoperability between the tech.
Also, if I may comment, we don't have to underestimate the consumer power. I mean, retailers are a very important factor in all this value chain, especially in business models that have a lot of farms. One owner that has 10, 20 farms and has to make a new contract with a big supermarket, or I don't know, maybe he's forced to implement some of this on a label basis in order to be inside this market. So we have to think that it's different, as the older speaker said, it's different factors for every kind of farm. It depends on the economic viability and sustainability of every farm.
Okay. Any more comments?
And the value of individuals also.
Yeah. Good. Okay, any more comments from the field? Or yeah, Eva?
Okay, thank you. I think that what we face here in Tech Care project is that we have small ruminant production and farmers of small ruminants. So they are not like the businessmen you can find in other agricultural business and farming, like cows farming, or there are industries and they have businessmen who manage the farms. In all of our countries, somehow we have common, the common thing that the farms are family business, more or less. They have strong tradition also. There are social issues about social behavior, like you said, human behavior. So you mentioned that they are used to be visited by different sellers of different products and different treatments, etc. So they are not easy, more or less, to trust, to give trust. So from our experience, and we have very good contact with farmers in Greece and in other countries, I can say that for other countries, you need to spend time and give something for them to test. Like you said, Paul, they need time. It's not like we do our job, we leave something and we say, take it and try this. It's not a scientific communication, this. It's not something like this. It's different. And it is very much related to the way the small ruminant farms exist at the moment in the whole Europe.
Yeah, they're all smaller businesses.
They're all for the society, for the environment, for the economy, and also the barriers and the obstacles they face all the time currently to survive and to face things related to the economy and social development, I think. So this is different. So PLF tools, but for those very specific constructed farms. And they're very different people.
Yeah.
I think.
Panel want to comment on that? No. Okay. I think we've got one from the ether.
Sì, italiano.
There is a comment from Alessandro.
Okay.
I try to translate. Once the research demonstrated the importance of the use of the technology for the monitoring of the animal welfare, he thinks that the decision should be from the politic.
Yeah.
And as in the agriculture 4.0, that's necessary subsidies from the European community to help the farmer to invest in this kind of technologies.
Okay.
Just a minute, because my English is not very well. It's not important to talk about farmer or other question. The secret is the pack. For everything, the secret is in the pack because the farmer needs the subside to improve the technology in the farm. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. The agriculture 4.0 is now in the farm because the European Union put a lot of million in the farm. Okay? Now, this type of research demonstrate that sensor indicator is good for animal welfare. I think today, just now, animal welfare, before maybe in the platea, said the consumer pay more for animal welfare. It's not that. Animal welfare now is just in the price because the consumer think the farm have the best animal welfare. We don't. In my products, we have just the animal welfare. But now we have to demonstrate a certificate, my animal welfare for the consumer. It's different. The consumer not pay for animal welfare, but is the farmer have to demonstrate animal welfare. It's in different things about our type of products in the farm level, in the sheep production is a very important thing now. Okay? Non lo so se va bene.
Yeah. Anybody want to comment on that? Yeah? Go for it. No.
It would be a personal comment, not from IDELE or from the project, but I understand about the money and each time I think there is a consumer survey asking the consumer who is happy to pay more about the topic. If the topic is relevant and something important in the actuality, they would say yes. But each time there is an economic crisis or a capacity to pay that is decreasing, we see that all the labels, all the PDO are decreasing. So I'm a little bit skeptical about this part of the capacity to consumer to pay more and more each time we will increase the labeling or the scores or something. But increasing the level of all the farms and adding value to the capacity to prove that the level of the farmers are good, this is something relevant, I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. It's very easy for a consumer to say, I will pay more, but a very small percentage of them actually will. And there's plenty of research out there that shows that mismatch between intention and actual behavior. And I agree with you. I think the small ruminant sector has another problem in that you're right, it's perceived to be good welfare. They live outside, at least in Scotland. You know, it's very hard to have a price premium for sheep meat, whereas you can for dairy. You know, we have some dairy where cow with calf systems where people pay an awful lot more because it's perceived to be so much better. You know, free-range chickens, free-range outdoor pigs. We have these really, you know, nice labels that speak to consumers, and consumers will pay more, some of them, for that. I think it's much, much harder with a system that's already perceived to have no welfare problems. So how do I sell a high welfare product if everybody already thinks it's great because the animals live outside? And I think a sort of capitalist, the consumer will pay if we want it. Otherwise, we don't have good welfare approach. Is not the model we have. It doesn't work, which is why we have the subsidies and legislations that say actually animal welfare matters to society whether you're prepared to pay for it or not, and that's why we push the legislation up, and it's why we have subsidy. I guess it does come to what our business models would look like for this, and I think when we've worked with farmers, some of like you, the really good farmers, because those are the ones who want to take part in welfare projects generally. And we talked about positive welfare. So we weren't even talking about getting rid of the bad stuff. We were talking about what could you do to really push the envelope. And they would go with us if it was going to be really cheap, wasn't going to cost them anything very much, wasn't going to have a negative impact on production. They would go with it for a little bit. If it was going to have a good impact on production, they were really up for it. And then we got to a point where they just said, I can't. You know, it's going to cost too much money. I don't see the benefit. And these were the best farmers. So at that point, you had reached the ceiling of how much they were willing to do. So things that were cheap and maybe had a production benefit, and they liked having a little bit of a welfare benefit, something that made them feel good about their farming practice. You know, we saw the animal doing something really positive. So that there is more than just economics in that decision making, but then it reaches a ceiling where they're not prepared to go beyond. And I think that's where we need to have maybe there's a policy instruments or something else that structures to move that up if that's what we think is important.
Thanks, Cathy. Esther, do you want to comment on that maybe, or from the EU perspective?
Yeah, just to say that, of course, for the support, there is always the cap that is there. And we see that there are many things that around the animal welfare. Is not only the animal welfare. The animal welfare, of course, if there is a good animal welfare, there will be a good herd, there will be a good production. There will be everything will be better with a better animal welfare. So there is always an interest to improve the animal welfare. If the PLF can help for improving the animal welfare, of course, is something that can be used. We are now interested in finding working on the indicators. Also, there is a study that has been launched by the Commission on indicators. There are many other things that are there for the indicators of animal welfare, and we explore also with a subgroup because we think it's really important to have those indicators that can help for improving the animal welfare, and then every tool that can be used to measure this animal welfare is important. I think it's in the evolution in fact. So it's something that will grow in the future.
Maybe Alessandro wanted to add that the consumer believe they are already guaranteed by the legislation that animal welfare is at a high level. So why do I have to pay more? This is maybe the question. Unless the product I can consume is better even for me, consumer, I don't know, a better quality.
People are different. They have different motivations. Some people are very motivated by animals having a much better quality of life than the legislation, and some are not. Those who won't will buy the minimum, and those who are will pay more. It's human behavior, I'm afraid. We're funny beasts.
Esther, do you want to come in? Sorry.
I think this is true, but I think there is a real societal expectation. You see this, for example, on those EU citizen initiative asking for the end of cage, asking for forbidding I don't know what. So there are more and more of citizens initiative that gives really the idea that the citizens are more aware. Is clear. People are looking for improving the animal welfare. Because the information is also more there, I think, so people are more aware also of the problem.
Yeah. Eva?
Yes, this discussion drives me to a conclusion we have from all our project activities, not only Take Care, but other projects activities for other species for many years now, that consumers are not aware of what is farming, how is farming. Livestock farming. So, in the Eurobarometer, it's for 2 years, I think. You can find the question, how much do you pay for better welfare, in all Eurobarometer surveys. And we use this just to compare our results of Take Care with the Eurobarometer results. And we have this result that they are willing to pay more. But if you see the other questions, how they answer, you know that those consumers do not know how farm animals are raised.
Yeah.
Not at all. So there is I think it is very important to train consumers also. It's not only important to train farmers how to improve the welfare of the animals beyond legislation, to go further beyond legislation, but also there is a need to train consumers about how their animal products are produced and how farm animals are raised. They know nothing in urban places.
Yeah, more awareness.
Not in the countryside, but the most of the population of the countries are concentrated in the capitals and in the urban places. There, they do know nothing, really.
Do you want to answer that, comment on that? Yeah.
No, except I totally agree that it's family-based, the sheep and the goat industry in Europe. It is small, more or less 500 at most, and it's very expensive, so we have to make it affordable also for the small farms to put the sensors. So we have to think other ways, except the ones that you already mentioned about subsidies. But we have to think also about the data. As an organization of sheep owners, you have to think about the data because you are giving data, and data is the hidden treasure, all about algorithms. I think last week, in a country in South America, they gave the legislation said that everyone owns his own data and he can sell it. For first time, I don't know if it is good or bad, but we're going to this kind of the road. So also farmers have to think about this, to find other ways to monetize these PLF sensors that they have to put in.
And that's something that we'll touch on tomorrow as well. So thanks, Michael, for raising that.
My comment was actually in the same line. I totally agree. I think when I was mentioning this morning that we have to be creative when thinking about farmers acquiring PLF tools, is precisely this thing on perhaps are not farmers who have to take care of the payment of these technologies, because they will not be the only users. They will be partial users, but it can be also certification bodies that will go somehow to consumers. It can be also regulatory or policymakers. It can be also industry on animal health or nutrition. So it can be a range of users of this data. And I think there is an opportunity there for farmers to share the costs and the benefits of the data that they are producing. So I would rather change the mind of, oh, this is something like this will be an extra cost and so on, instead of an opportunity. Oh, we will have something else, not only milk or meat to sell, but something else that will have value, and we could take advantage of it.
Okay. So I suggest, oh, Jarkko, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. I have 2 comments. Regarding the consumers, I agree that there's a need to educate and to think about how to communicate with consumers. But then it's also, in a way, wrong to think that, often we talk about consumers as one group, but they're actually a very heterogeneous group, and some of them care a lot about animal welfare, some of them don't care so much. And if you are targeting all these different types of consumers by using similar messaging and similar approaches, then it probably doesn't work. So maybe there's a need to have some sort of diverse, like a portfolio of approaches, how to communicate with consumers about animal welfare. So that was the first comment. And then second, I think that if farmers or food businesses, if they want to actually valorize animal welfare information, like for instance, information that might be collected by sensors or by other means, if they really want to valorize that in the market, then there's a need to have, they need to be able to point out to the consumers that, okay, this is the way how our products are better. So if all the products are the same, then it doesn't actually generate any additional value. So there's a need to diversify your products from the others and really point out clearly to the consumers that how it is better than the others.
Yeah. Thank you. So one last question, and I want one answer quickly from each of you. So,
there are a lot other comments.
Okay, one last one, and then you'll have my last one. So go ahead.
Who is the man is asking the question? Jan Ledoux.
Oh.
Okay. Farmers have a fear of their data being used against them by the legislature.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also, Udi is waiting for doing a question. Maybe he is writing the question. I don't know if we can wait a while.
Well, while we wait for his question, so I just say to maybe close up. So if you can answer me in one sentence, so what would be your ambition for PLF in 10 years based on what we've discussed? For sheep, I'm precise, sheep and goats. So, Germain, you start.
I'm the first, so I take the easiest answer. For 10 years, I say I will follow Eva's suggestion. I think we could make a Tech Care number 2. That's quick and
I think it would be nice if we had something that was maybe universally used, that was supporting farmers in their decision making, that was improving. I'm not saying that we've got fantastic animal welfare, but it's improving animal welfare. So in 10 years' time, there is a thing that is working on farm to improve welfare and support farmers in decision making.
Yeah, I think if we can achieve to have tools that are available for farmers, easy to use, cheap, and provide some nice information, I will be very happy, because I think that will be the start of the implementation of PLF technology in sheep. Yeah.
I agree with Paul, and he says I believe that this is going to be, I'm really optimistic that this is going to happen, even though it is now seems very, oh, no way, and they're sheep farmers and their families. I think things are going there. Their PLF tools and sensors are going to be cheaper, more robust, because we have to think about the environment that they are put. And if we train the the farmers to understand and use this, because it's not only to be accessible, the information, but also to be usable. And then we will have the results that we all want.
Yeah. So for me, I hope they become more affordable for everyone, and the use can be extended with the purpose to improve animal welfare and to have an harmonization of the way already the legislation is implemented, and standardization also, and then this to upgrade the animal welfare.
Okay. Well, thank you very much to our panel. I think it was a good discussion. Any last-minute questions or comment before?
No. Hugh Duram wanted to talk, but he will do tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
The bet.
So thank you very much to our panel member.